everybody! Welcome to B-Movie Euphoria. I'm Nick.
I'm Alex.
And today we watched a very special version of the 1922 film. So it's 100 years old.
That's why we're doing this. 100 years old. Very first vampire movie, I believe.
I think
there might be another one, but it's probably lost.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
Yeah. This is the one we're talking about. It's Nosferatu, but this version of Nosferatu is Nosferatu, the first vampire.
But the specialness of this version is that the entire soundtrack, instead of being the classical organ-driven score, it is done by the band
Type O Negative. the goth metal band.
Yeah, how would you describe Type O Negative?
Yeah, just gothic metal.
They sing a lot about like dark themes and death,
lust and sensuality
and depression and magic and
being
stuff.
In one with nature, but also really depressed still.
Yeah, they're big. They're really big.
They're like 6 foot something at least, each of them. And the big man Peter Steele. Rest in peace.
How did he die?
He died of a heart attack, I believe.
Oh, no.
And I think that was like 2009.
Yeah, but I remember seeing him. I never got into Type O Negative, but I do remember seeing him on like talk shows.
Welcome, Peter Steele. Peter Steele.
From what I understand, he was actually like
the
cooler version of Glenn Danzig, where how Glenn Danzig takes everything seriously, and he's like trying really hard to not be laughable, where Peter Steele is kind of doing the same thing, but it's like, it's a joke.
For some reason, this company,
Arrow Video. This Arrow Video.
Yes, which I have a lot of Blu-rays from Arrow Video.
Yeah,
another Arrow Video decided to release Nosferatu with
the Type O Negative music.
The Type O Negative music somehow linked up with the video. But not only that, we also get an incredible intro from the one and only David Carradine.
David Carradine.
Vampires.
The David Carradine intro adds such a nice little sprinkling, a little frosting.
I don't know how many brewskis he had before they got in front of the camera, but like...
I feel like he had a few cocktails. And I was thinking while I was watching it, okay, so basically he's introducing F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu, but I don't think they told him that Type O Negative was doing the music, because he does not mention Type O Negative at all. But he does have a bamboo cane. Which
with a sword
inside.
The legends of vampires as a cultural phenomenon is mystified, entertained, entranced, and of course, horrified.
Which I want to say he brought from home. And so basically he introduces the film that we're about to see.
Gives a little spiel.
Little spiel on Dracula. And on Bram Stoker.
And vampires in popular culture throughout the years.
And then he starts talking about F.W. Murnau. And
his importance with making Nosferatu and its influence on the horror genre.
The genre.
Murnau's creature would influence scores of future filmmakers working in the horror genre all around the world.
And he's right. I mean... When he's right, because this movie, despite it being old and 100 fucking years old, this year, there are still moments in it that are absolutely terrifying. So the story concerns a guy named Hutter, right?
So here's where things get interesting.
Okay.
So it's Nosferatu itself is just an unauthorized version of Dracula, and
Mary
David
Shelley's
Dracula. Even David Carradine himself explains that in the beginning. So, but they changed the names around essentially to hide the fact that hey, we're just making Dracula here because of the way that it was distributed back in the day. It did get in trouble.
Still,
and
because it's the same story as Dracula. It's the same beats, the same everything.
And I believe it was thought to be destroyed, but there were different versions of it that were discovered, and when they were and translated into English, I believe people were like, well, this person's name is this. Well, since it's basically Dracula, we're going to name him, like, oh, this is Jonathan, this is Mina, this is, Van Helsing,
Right.
And then people were like, well, no, if we're translating the original German, it should actually be this name and this name. So throughout the years, there's like, well, this version of Nosferatu, they're named this version of Nosferatu, they're named that. The font's different here.
Yeah.
They colored the tint different for like day for night and stuff.
So there are some prints where there are colors that show us whether it's day or whether it's night. So it gives us an idea because it was all shot in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had to. Because the cameras, couldn't see anything at night.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you still do get a sense, even though the shots that are in the daytime, you still have it in your mind that it's nighttime because you're like, oh, well, Nosferatu's out, so...
And it's blue.
And it's bluish.
So
it's got to be night.
The main guy in this, who's supposed to be like Jonathan
Harker.
Yeah.
In the book, anyway.
Yeah. His name's Hutter.
Hutter, Thomas
Hutter.
Yes. And his boss comes to him, his boss, Mr. Knock.
Mr. Knock, who's essentially Renfield.
Yes, and tells him that he needs to go to Transylvania. Still, it's Transylvania. They didn't change that. To talk to Count Orlok.
Yeah.
And get him to sign some papers. So, because he wants to live where they're living, which is in...
But it's supposed to be England,
yes.
But it's German, so there's like, oh, we'll have him in Germany,
And so he's like, he lives in a high castle in Transylvania, and we want him to live here because he's rich and he can pay us all, and we'll all get a great commission. So go on out there and have him sign some stuff.
Hijinks ensue.
Yes, his girlfriend immediately, who is either Nina or Ellen?
It's Ellen in the title cards they made, or the text cards they made for this version, but it says Nina in what the camera actually captures.
We'll call her Ellen. Ellen is immediately affected by this when Hutter tells her that he's going off, and she's like, ah! And so she feels something. She feels something negative might happen. Hutter goes to Transylvania, and he ends up in it's kind of like the bar in American Werewolf in London. The Slaughtered Lamb.
Yeah, where they mention one thing and everybody stops.
And he
stares.
He mentions Count Orlok.
Orlok's castle. Yeah.
One of those two things. And he mentions that, and everybody turns around like, huh? What?
You must never go to that castle.
So they tell him that, I don't think they really warn him or anything. They're just like, woo! And
they say, oh, don't go tonight. Long enough to read a book about vampires and think nothing of it.
No, he reads the vampire. That's pretty good. And so he takes it with him, and then he is taken almost to the castle, except the carriage rider is like, "This is as far as I go," and then drops him off. But then a hilariously fast carriage, just drenched in black, like. And just shows up right next to him, and it looks like Count Orlok is driving.
I think it's supposed to be him, yeah.
Because it's got the same kind of like circles around the eyes and
big pointy nose,
big creepy nose, but he's shrouded, so you can't really see him.
This is one of the few scenes where like they really sync up. They go out of their way to sync up the typo negative music that's going on. Because throughout, it's just sort of there.
Yeah, it's a lot of
like it fades in and out for like certain scenes.
Right.
You know, there's not really too much rhyme or reason to it, but for like this scene, they do. I don't even know what song it is, but like,
it's fast. It's a very fast song, so it's like
don't.
Oh, you're dead now. And it works so well because the carriage is moving so fast, and he's just kind of like looking out the window like, oh my god, everything's going by. So
I guess they picked the right song. I don't know where else they'd fit that song into the movie. So.
I think they used like 18 typo negative songs for this like 70-minute movie.
I could have swore they used one again.
Yeah, no, they did. Yeah. They definitely used a couple songs.
One.
He makes it after that long, fast journey to the castle, and
they have a nice dinner, you know.
Yes,
when he meets the Count,
and the Count is creepy right away, but he's wearing like a hat and like things, you know, stuff to kind of hide his creepiness. And they're talking, and of course he's cutting some bread, and he cuts his own thumb, and the Count is like, "Oh, let me." And you would think, right at that point, a rational person would be like, okay, game over. I need to go home.
Leave this place.
I need to get away from this creep. But no, the Count's like, let's go sit over by the fire and have a nice little chat. And then it's just like, he's out. He's completely out and wakes up in the morning.
With bite marks on his neck.
Yeah.
But yet he still sits there and... You know, the happy song, "The Green Man" by Typo Negative's playing, and he's, you know, eating the food.
Yeah, well, he wakes up in the morning, and,
the beautiful courtyard.
Yeah, and he you know, gets a beautiful breakfast, and he's feeling okay, and everything's fine.
Night comes again. He has him sign the papers.
Yeah, and then things start getting progressively creepier. And this is when we start seeing scenes that are, like, absolutely...
iconic.
Yeah, really freaky and stuff that we've seen before whenever people talk about Nosferatu, like you know, how he's standing so stiff and, you know...
Taking up the door frame.
Yeah, and he just kind of, like, materializes indoors. Yeah. At that point, I think... he's getting wise to Count Orlok, because apparently Nosferatu isn't the name.
This is the name of what he is.
Yeah.
It's not his name.
Because when he's reading the vampire book, it says something
Nosferatu, the undead.
Yes, and it says, like, if you encounter a Nosferatu, so that part was pretty funny. He's realizing that the Count is really freaky. He goes down into the basement, and he sees the Count sleeping in his broken coffin, and he sees... And and that just freaks him out even more, and he starts, like, running away. But, and then from there, the Count... Oh, he watches the Count...
pack his things, pack his coffins of dirt, and then take off for the shipyard where he gets on that voyage to the town that his new home is in.
Yeah. Yes, and that's a very funny scene, too, because he does it in, like, double time. Helps that there's not a hell of a lot of dialogue in this movie, because everything is very just like, it's on the screen and you see it and you experience it and you're freaked out, and it doesn't really take a lot of exposition or, oh, this is happening now, no, that's happening now. You just kind of know it because it's happening on screen. Meanwhile, Renfield is going nuts and just goes absolutely crazy, runs around the town, and the whole townsfolk are already going crazy because people are dying left and right now.
Yeah, the plague's there.
The plague.
And they have to bring out their dead and
shutter
their doors.
There's a very creepy scene of the doctor, I think, just drawing crosses on doors.
That might be a priest.
Yeah,
a priest or a doctor, I'm not sure.
And so he's drawing crosses on doors, and you just see lots of shots of caskets being carried down this long street. And then, so Renfield goes on the run. The townspeople are like, he's involved somehow, in some way. And so they all chase him down. And there was one scene that I didn't really understand what was happening, because they're chasing around, and then they see, like, a scarecrow. And then they all attack the scarecrow, and they, like, throw it around, and they're like, ah! And then suddenly he's back in the insane asylum again. So maybe there's a scene that was cut out. Anyway, so the movie wraps itself up pretty quickly at the end, which is very nice. There isn't a lot of, like, moments of, like, I wonder what's going to happen next. It's really just goes from one scene to the next, and you're just like, oh, okay, here we go. So finally we're in the bedroom of Ellen, I think. And Ellen has been, like, feeling sick or feeling ill, and the doctors come to look at her, and ever since Orlok has come to town. Hutter has decided to sleep in the chair next to her bed, and, of course, late at night, Nosferatu is drawn to her because he saw a picture of her when Hutter took it out. He's like, oh,
lovely Frout.
And that's when we start seeing some really good shadow stuff. Like, when he comes to her door, and, like, his
arm gets really long.
Yeah,
the
fingers just spread across the wall. And this is all done in camera, too, obviously, because they didn't have anything else to do. And then he goes to get down on that neck. But, unfortunately, there goes that cock. That cock starts crowing.
And in this version, Peter Steele is like, and now you die! It's just cool.
Yeah, it's clearly like they were trying to do something interesting. And something they thought, like, hey, this is a goth band, kind of, and the fans of this goth band might want to watch Nosferatu with Peter Steele singing in the background. And I feel like, and I think I said this before, but I think this would go great as a background film at some party.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at some, like, goth-themed bar or something like that. So this movie definitely has a place. I don't know exactly what the place is. Oh, that's another thing. This guy is not in the movie.
Yeah, this guy on the front.
His name is Vlad Moreno.
Vlad Marco.
Marco, sorry.
And the two ladies at the bottom
I didn't even see.
Sky Soto and Lisa Lynette. So, yeah, I'm glad they got credit, because most of the time when you get a movie that clearly has a cover that was taken by some photographers to try to amp up whatever movie they're selling, they don't credit those models.
No, and they really credited
here.
Everyone in this. And
everybody who did everything, which wasn't much, because at the end of the day, they just
put music.
This is another public domain version of Nosferatu that they tack stuff onto to, like, amp up the value.
But overall, what is your thoughts on it? Do you think it works?
Is cool. I mean, this is obviously not the ideal way to watch Nosferatu. I mean, there's
so many ways to watch it.
There's like a lot of different ways to watch this movie, and this is probably like at the wrong speed or whatever. Some of the scenes are like tinted wrong. Maybe things are missing. The text isn't accurate to like the original experience. Obviously, you want like the score that was, or like a reinterpretation of whatever score they originally showed with the movie, and all that.
Yeah, because
a proper restoration instead of scratchy prints.
Right, because what I remember is that the music really was a big part of the film. I mean, it's called a Symphony of Horror, so the music, at tense moments, I'm sure the organ's like, and then in this movie, it's more like. Which is great, but it's it's not it's probably not what F.W. Murnau intended.
Yeah,
but maybe he would have liked it.
But this is a cool novelty, I'd say, and if you want to get some snooty goth kids into like classic film, which I don't know why they wouldn't be, but maybe they wouldn't. Maybe
if you're a goth kid,
this is right up your alley.
And you haven't watched this or Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, what are you even doing? But I think I had a great experience with it. I think it was fun.
Definitely
spooky.
Feels cool.
Yeah, you feel it's like smoking a cigarette. You feel very cool while you're watching it.
Like, I'm in the know. People don't watch Nosferatu this way. It's just like. It's a funny thing that you can find, and I bet as more people talk about this version, I think it might become one of those things that's like...
If more people talk about this version.
I feel like a lot of people are probably sleeping on this, because this is like a 2000... No, it came out in 98.
Wow.
And it was put on tape first, and then they did a DVD of it. So whenever this DVD's been out that long, I don't know how many of them they made, but like, yeah, it might be one of those weird DVDs that people start looking for,
I hope so. But if you don't want to go looking for the DVD, this Nosferatu, the first vampire, with the Peter Steele music, it's all on YouTube, or it was the last time I checked. So if you want to check this out, go to YouTube and watch it. I'd say it'd be a great, like, Halloween watch. It'd be a great, like, I'm really depressed. I need something to lift me up. But I enjoyed it, and I think it's just interesting enough with the introduction with David Carradine, where he doesn't really seem to know what's going on, and he definitely had a few belts before the interview, or the introduction. And it's just very... very entertaining, and it brought me back, and it made me realize that films have been good since their inception. Films have been entertaining and fun since 100 years ago, and they're just getting better and getting, like, now we have Sonic 2. you know? The evolution of film is just incredible. And this is proof of it right here. So, yeah, I would recommend it.
Yeah, if you find this cheap like I did.
Or on YouTube.
Yeah, or watch it on YouTube. It's a fun thing to watch around Halloween, for when I'm at a party, get hype, get sad, you know.
Get hype and sad at the same time. You're just it's like taking an upper and a downer. So anyway, I'm Nick.
Alex, and thank you for joining our little 100-year celebration of Nosferatu.
Thank you for 100 years, Nosferatu.
Congratulations, Nosferatu, for 100 years of entertainment.